Now, next, last part, scaling up. So this is work, again, I don't want to repeat too much.
Are there fast speed from LSV?
Sorry,
Are there fast speeds from LSV?
Both positives.
yes.
And what is the cost of a false positive?
Very narrow. Because basically, there are not many, actually, but there are. But there are false positive also the PhD students. So basically, no, actually, this is a great question because it allows me also to tell you to stress a point that I mentioned before, but maybe not well enough, and also some objections that people start talking about. The part of false positive is basically something that you believe is equivalent with something. Okay. Now, the key issue is that if I use inversion programming and I have 3 people and I have failures that are not expected, if they are too frequent, it's a disaster. If I have this case, if assume I pick up something that every tells me is an equivalent, but it's not, this is the first time. Okay, if I pick up something that I assume to be equivalent and it's not, okay, what happens? It happens that I get to the point, I fail, I go back, I may select that non-equivalent system. A, it's not equivalent into the session will fail again, and so I just iterate on a new step, or B, it does work and then it's not a false positive. So basically, a false positive has the same effect as picking up an equivalent but not useful sequence. Okay. So now it is true that let's say a big amount of false positive would actually slow down the process. Now, again, the claim is that if you have a problem, you better wait 5 minutes for the system to heal itself than 5 weeks for the Microsoft engineer to fix the system. Okay, that's the point. Now, the other point is that yes, we did have some false positive, but very few. It's very unlikely. But if I want to be completely honest, of course, the examples we did work well so far with web application and libraries. We are now experimenting with large applications. We're coming back to that now, but we don't have that much time. So in libraries and web applications, the systems are great. It may be the case that they have. So, for example, libraries. Let me continue. We said that equivalence is very spread out because of design for usability. But we use libraries, which are reusable by design. Okay. Web applications, in web applications you have many actions that many responses. So it may be that the results they presented you and that they don't want to be conclusive but rather encouraging may not be true on all the environments. But I started by saying, I'm not giving you the consolidated state of practice in the past. This is actually look ahead. Now, let me get for the last part of the talk about scaling up. Now, and I start with my little story, of course. So basically, by the way, this is you will see something that I think I could actually read, guess when listening to Brent's presentation. So I come back to probabilities sooner or later. So we will see that. Anyway, it's a completely different phenomenon. So the little story is the following. We did this work in the last almost 5, 6 years now, maybe 7. And we published several papers, which is our job. And then at some point I got a mail from some Chinese name. Hi, my name is Li Dan. I am from Huawei. I don't know if you know, we are a company. We are a fairly large company. Actually, to be honest, we are one of the 3 top producers of Huawei. So I got a very nice and very polite introduction, saying, as if it were like, hi, we are Pezze and company, and you may not know the company. Of course, you don't know the company. And then he said, we write your papers on self-healing, and we would like to know whether you are interested in sharing some ideas because we may be interested in your problems. What do you do if you actually have one of the largest producers of telecommunication system contacting you, telling you that they read your paper, they like your paper, they want to work with you, and you work in software engineering and not theoretical computer science, you know? So I said, of course. So we started talking. They actually came, the head of research and development of the China headquarters came to Europe, spent one day in Lugano, and a few months later we had the project running. So the problem is the following, and I give you the problem because I really want to present it not just conclusive results, but what has to be done next. We are already past that, but you know. So the point is that they say, I don't know if you know, but the telecommunication companies are considering moving their system on the cloud. Why? Because the others. This is the obvious and unique justification. It's like, you go to a company, if you're a good salesman, you don't say we do something which is new and completely different from the others. You know that your competitor already bought this, and then they buy it, no matter whether it works or not. So basically, since all move in that direction, nobody can stay here. So I don't know whether they will move. I think they will actually, because I've been working for them more than 2 years now. So I think that in the near future, our telecommunication infrastructure will move on the cloud. Now, what is the problem with the cloud? Very simple. A company like Huawei, but it could be Siemens, could be, it's not only Huawei. I just mentioned that because we give them money, but it can be any. You change the name. Actually, we are working with Sunrise. We are working with UBS. We are working with Swiss, with Credit Suisse. We are working with several because that momentum. Anyway. They say basically we do guarantee 5 minutes of downtime per year. Everything that goes above 5 minutes of downtime per year on the system of our customers is not acceptable. Which is a reliability which is 99.99%. Now they say we can do that because we actually have a joint reliability between hardware and software. Now the problem is that if we move on the cloud, we already know that the reliability that is given by our proprietary hardware system will be decreasing. Now we either do not move to the cloud, but that's everybody does it, or we improve the reliability of the software because you know that the reliability of the system is the product of the two reliabilities. Okay, I don't know if you know that, but I attended several interesting debates about software and hardware reliability in nuclear power plant management, whether it's acceptable the software is less reliable there. Anyway, so they say, our system right now is not reliable enough. Can we do better with self-healing? Oh yes, absolutely. Give me the money and we'll do better. So I started the project, got the money, good amount actually, very nice. Took me a while to first start to understand what they were saying because they were speaking decent English, but that's also already. We have a weekly meeting with China, and we have 4 Chinese colleagues sitting in different offices at the phone only, and it's not that easy. Then it took us a while to understand what they wanted, what they meant. But to make it short, we made a proposal. Okay, we sent papers about which was the paper that they actually read, and the guy said no. And the objection was, come on, are you joking? Are you thinking that you can actually monitor every single method code in our system and build the system as you presented a couple of hours ago to you? I think so. But they don't. They say, no way. Do you think we can? So basically, their position was, there is no way we can actually scale up to our system. And so we actually started working on something. This last part of the talk, I'll tell you what we are doing. So we move to the cloud. The cloud is not just a buzzword, it means a system that cannot be monitored in the same way. So basically, a cloud system, what is new, is large scale and incomplete information. Okay, so the problem with the cloud is that, and I mentioned at the beginning ultra large system, which is my new frontier, but I think the cloud is a sort of step towards that direction, There is no way you can collect complete and consistent information at any meaningful level on such a big system. Okay? Because subsystems are owned by different people that don't want to own. You don't collect information of every single operation of the software of your competitor. way. You don't get, you don't get, I don't even mention now that start working with banks. Do you have any idea on how much information we can get? This idea that you get every single method call, so withdraw cash, put cash, with the exact amount of money, the exact values of parameters, $10,000, $2,000, $50 million. Okay, do you think we can get that information? Or by the way, you get the account number and the number of it? There's no way. So basically, those systems, not because only the cloud, but cloud is a representative, large amount of information, impossible to get complete information. And the other thing is, in higher level clouds, which is the example, but it's not the only example, you get also overhead constraints, so there is no trust from them that you can monitor, for example, every single access to the memory, every single. So we basically had to actually start and go through, we have to monitor, and we have to do some lightweight, incomplete monitoring, collecting the standard information. So what the solution was, the solution is simple, okay? You cannot get information about method codes, about parameters, values, about, no. You get this information, okay? And I'll walk through it quickly. This is a sample of this information. So, one thing that I learned, I was not completely aware, we actually have a system, and this is, I wanted to give you a concrete example, it doesn't matter what is written there. But basically, at the application side, we use Clearwater, which is a standard in the telecommunication environment. We use AES level, we use Linux. Now, all these systems provide backdoor information. You get user CPU utility, system CPU utility, busy CPU utility, wait, IO CPU utility, bytes per seconds at the CPU, at the network level, at the Linux level. But you get existence of system, existence of reset time, volume allocated at the middleware time level. You get average latency, variance, highest call latency. You get a lot of information which is already there. So the first step is monitoring. In this case, and I don't want to say, teach you how to behave with Huawei. In many cases, what you can do and what you should do is before start thinking of what you can collect, it's better to do what you already have available. Okay, I learned that here. I learned that a long time ago when I was working with Siemens. I was working with Siemens and I did implement for them what is called it's a classification method developed in IBM for monitoring testing, which is very nice. And I have like my list of information that was collected in IBM, and I got paid to actually use the Siemens information already available to build the same system. Okay, that's the same. Don't think, many cases, and this is an example, monitoring means look at what we have instead of what you can do. And then the second step is, at some point, how do I actually predict failures? Oh, it's simple. We have our nice GK-tail models, and no, we don't. We will go back. We do not have the GK-tail models anymore. So what can we do instead? Okay, so basically, we have been working, and this is where I guess Prince also mentioned something. We're using data analytics, we're using machine learning. So basically, we build a causality graph and we build a prediction model. Now, I don't want to go into the details because we do not have time, and I think at this time, not because of the length of the course and not also because of the amount of information that I give you in this case. But basically, the idea is the following. The idea is the following. We have two phases, training and predicting. So again, early in the afternoon we started saying you collect information, you build the graph. You collect information, you build the model. Same thing. The only difference is that what we do is we get a cloud system. We collect what people call KPI, key performance indicators, which are all that part of information. We feed them in a baseliner, which is basically a data analytics engine. And we build what we call a causality graph. A causality graph is a graph that represents the causal relations between nodes. I'll show you what it is. And then you actually feed the cloud with faults. And we collect also anomalous execution, and we feed, we create a model, and we have two levels. One, we can create a model only with correct execution or with correct and faulty executions. We may try to guess, if we have time, why we only want to give up the faulty executions, okay? Which actually add information. And then we use a machine learning approach to filter the anomaly detectors and produce a prediction model, which I'll show you very quickly how it works. And then once you have that at runtime, you basically have two elements. One is, again, you use again analytics using the causality graph built and the training phase with the current execution. So you remember, we have our graph and we have our GKT graph and the sequence, and we actually filter it out. Same concept, different environment, different models, different comparison. We get anomalies. Again, we don't get the faulty execution, we just get everything which is an exception, what we call anomalies here. And we take the prediction model and we use again machine learning to see whether that is a fault. Okay, this is the simple approach. Now, we started with correct and faulty execution. We moved on with correct execution only. Why the heck is that? But it's very simple. You go to correct execution only because they say, how many faults you want to inject to get a good model? Oh, a few tens of thousands. Do you think we can actually inject a few tens of thousands of faults on? And for how long? Oh, a couple of weeks. Do you think we can inject a few 100,000 faults for a couple of weeks in our customer system? Okay, so we gave up the idea of seeing faults, which complicates the things. But actually, it's very challenging. And we came up. So let me tell you how does it work, basically. What we call the fault localizer. Okay, how we localize fault with this model. So basically, we have two elements. One we call KPI correlator, and the other we call fault magnifier. So we take training phase, we build the causality graph, we get set of anomalies, we give what is called the evolving causality graph. We take the failure prediction, which is fairly precise but not completely because of the lack of seeded faults, and we use some extra information. Again, add information at runtime that if you can make use of the information that you add, you can work. And with that information, we can actually localize the fault given the prediction of this failure. Okay? Causality graph, now it looks similar but it's not. Okay, one node for each KPI. So you have on the left-hand side the KPIs. They are the real ones. Actually, we do have a prototype which actually matches the Huawei system. I don't have time to tell you how we matched it, but basically each KPI is a location, usually a node or a layer in the system, and a matrix. So, for example, we have average waiting time in Bon. Bon is the name of one of the nodes in our system. And then each of them is actually a KPI. We ended up with nodes up to 25,000 nodes. So it's quite a big, large system. And we actually compute the edges. Okay? These are the edges that should represent the causal relation between the nodes. So if you use detail use range causality, but if you're expert, we can actually talk about that. If you're not, we can talk anyway. But the key issue is basically you can compute according to a sample set the probability that two KPI are related to each other, and we do that, and we actually represent that by adding an edge whenever two KPI are connected. This is not a completely connected graph. And we have a weight, which is actually the weight. And then what we do time series analysis. So that actually is a sort of short, small representation of the causality graph. So remember, we build the causality graph up to 25,000 nodes. These are not 25,000. Okay. And then we actually show it on a even smaller one. And what we do is basically every time we actually annotate the anomalies. Same concept as before. No, it's recurrent. Remember, we start with a model of the system in a training phase. We collect behaviors, we compare the behaviors, pick up anomalies. Anomalies are not single, they accumulate. So what we do is we actually look at the sequence, and in any case, in any moment we know which is anomalous when. And in general, anomalies actually spread and persist. So if you have an excessive workload or excessive use of memory, it continues to be excessive for a while. Okay, and now the second part is, if I give this graph, which is a real graph actually on a small system, to a student of mine, a famous good student, and ask him to actually try to identify which is the responsible of the fault, he can do that. I give this guy, if I get to the point that I have a sequence of graphs is a bit more difficult, but you know, if it's really motivated, he can do that. If I give him the graph with 25,000 notes, this is, I think it's illegal to give such a note to a PhD student. So basically, what we do is we are working with two things. One is called eigenvector centrality, and the other one is called hyperlink-induced topic search. Now, I cannot really go into detail, but give you the idea. You remember before, find the cluster, the nodes, so that you get the best, smallest but interesting cluster of anomalies. Here we do something which is basically, we try to give a priority list out of the nodes by counting the clustering the nodes again. So basically the idea is eigenvector centrality is computed on top of the weight of the different edges that exit the node and the edges that exit the edges of the node. So it's basically a sort of measure of how many anomalous nodes are connected and with which probability. And then you get, and you study it on a time series, and then you get something which is basically a list of critical KPIs. Now, the great idea, the great point is that, so you read up there, Homestead, SCPU, CPU, AW, Nice, Sprout, Homestead. Now, Sprout, Homestead are the names of the node. And you see, we see that T2 is the first time we have more than one anomalous. So the red spot is anomalous. So start to have one anomaly, 7 anomalies, more. We start when we have more than one, and we start computing, watching the list, priority list, and we find out that we have a lot of anomalies in Homestead and Sprout, and that's exactly where we inject it. So we have evidence that this is in many cases fine located. Okay? Now, I have a few slides about time series analysis and range causality, but the time is over. So, I would like to summarize, and if you're interested, I invite all of you to Lugano for a deeper presentation. Okay? So, basically, what I try to do is I try to give you a picture of the global problem, a vision of the problem. Again, this is not a sort of classic survey, a classic summary essay of work done in the past. It's more like this is the problem, and I identified different elements, the centrality of the models, the difficulty of the models, and the different steps. I also gave you one approach which helps localizing faults. I hope you've seen that in the second part, the last part of scaling up, there are many similarities. Not because we are the same, we then make the same mistakes, because this is a common pattern. Okay, so basically you can get 5, probably not many, but some more presentation with different approaches. But the leitmotiv is the same. You need to actually identify anomalies and try to figure out whether they cluster or fail so on. And you can do that with classic models for nested machines, or you can do it with probabilistic models. And this summarizes most of the work done. It's people do. And in between, we have seen also how to actually localize faults. I presented you one technique which is based on expensive redundancy, but actually, if you look at the spectrum and you actually get this filter, you would be able to say, okay, this is the redundancy they use, this is the way they use, this is the effectiveness by the. So, you know, it will change the details, but the picture is. Okay, and that's it. You know, I just like to have the list of the famous brave PhD students who are currently working with me. I have currently the PhD students. Currently, this is my set of now. Passed in Lugano, so in the last 5 years, and passed on in Lugano. And since you know the project with Huawei is going to be renewed, and I have yet another project coming in, which is once order of magnitude bigger than Huawei in higher. Okay, thank you very much.
Right, so the next minutes would come, let's say. We dedicate this to questions, so that we can stand up and ask questions to all the present presenters, the ones who are here. So, of course, including the
I cannot leave, that's the message.
Not the one of tomorrow, of course, but the one. And so, if you have a question or exercise you've done and you want to do just to a chat, that's the time. Until 6. Then 7:25 downstairs in the hall, we just go from the session. Okay.
Like at the beginning, you said that your friend said 2 reasons why the software system cannot kill itself.
Mm-hmm.
So can you maybe summarize in human language why your friend was wrong?
Okay. I think he was well. I don't say wrong because you know I hate to use the word wrong with a friend of mine who I actually consider a great scientist. He was not seeing the whole picture. Okay, so his view was very simple.